Hello and welcome to the Radiate Wellness podcast with your host, metaphysician, Reiki Master, and hypnotherapist, Christi Clemons Hoffman. Each week, we will discover teachings, tips, and tools to radiate your best life ever with practitioners, authors, and luminaries to help you on your path. Wellness, joy, peace, abundance. What do you want to radiate?
Hello and welcome back to the Radiate Wellness podcast. Today we radiate positive beliefs with Tracey McQuinn, one of our practitioners. Hi, Tracey.
Hello.
Looks like you're in a forest. That's fun.
Yes, I chose this forest theme because we're talking about the belief code. And in the belief code, we often equate a belief system to a tree.
Ooh,
So
okay.
I thought it was kind of fitting.
Okay, well, let's back up a little bit. Belief code, for anybody who doesn't know who you are, and of course, you're not only one of our practitioners with Radiate Wellness, radiatewellnesscommunity.com, but you're also a belief code practitioner and emotion code and body code.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So could you tell us a little bit about what the belief code is and how it relates to the other codes?
The belief code is, we want to look at it as the third level on top of the emotion code and body code. Then you become a belief code practitioner. It builds on those two modalities, but it deals specifically with the beliefs that are in the subconscious that are kind of affecting the way we behave and think and feel and patterns in our life and such. Dr. Bradley, basically, he came up with the emotion code and the body code. But in the case of the belief code, there was a little different origin. A couple of his students, some ladies, I forget what state they were in, but a couple of the ladies that were his students and had been, emotion code, body code practitioners, had been experimenting and basically developed over time this system called T3, which was three-dimensional therapy, I think, and which was shortened to T3. Mm-hmm. But they had come up with it. And Dr. Bradley Nelson, he worked with these ladies over time. I mean, he was aware of what they were doing. He kept in touch with them. And it was always kind of known that this was eventually going to be the third step beyond the emotion and the body code. Mm-hmm. So over time, they taught this class and they have practitioners out there that are T3 practitioners. But then eventually, Dr. Brad bought the rights to the T3 program and they tweaked it even further. And what rolled out was, in this essence, the belief code. Mm. From my discussion with some practitioners who do T3 from before, it's quite different, but the basic bottom line is you're still releasing beliefs in the subconscious that affect you. It's just a little bit of a different way of doing it than maybe they came up with. But
this system, developed by Dr. Bradley Nelson, Dr. Brad, began with the body code, right? Or did it begin with emotion
code? Emotion code. And he was a chiropractor in practice and was finding that things didn't stay in place. You'd adjust it and then something would be back out in a week or back in a couple of days. Here's the same patient. So he started questioning, like, what's going on here? What am I missing? And he explains it as downloads that he would get. And gradually over time had figured out that there's emotional energy, or basically energy, that is, as he describes it, trapped in the body. I would say held in the body, maybe. It needs to be dealt with first. And then that whatever, is adjusted could stay back in place. And so he kind of developed that over time just with this downloads and testing and muscle testing. And I would have loved to have been on the fly on the wall to see this come to fruition because it's quite an undertaking. And then the body code is an even bigger undertaking. So, yeah.
So
it's amazing.
So this is a big criticism that many people have of chiropractic is that you have to keep going back. You have to keep going back, right? But Dr. Nelson was finding that there were beliefs and emotions in the body that kept the treatment from lasting. Is that an accurate assessment?
That's pretty much, yeah. And that's true in medical too. I mean, you'll have a medical issue and then you'll deal with that, or you'll deal with the symptoms of that. Mm-hmm. And you'll never really get to that root cause and get the problem resolved in a decent way. And so it's kind of across the board. This is a problem. But yeah, that's basically what you're saying.
So the first level is emotion code, and then we go to the body code. How does the body code differentiate from the emotion code?
Emotion code, we're dealing with just trapped emotions or just that emotional energy. And there's a chart of about 60 different emotions that represent all the vibrational energies of different things like terror or abandonment, just for examples. But body code gets into I want to say 6 different categories of different things, one being energy, and it includes basically the emotion code in it. And then we get into compound trapped emotions and toxicities and misalignments and imbalances of all sorts and organs and glands. And I mean, it covers a whole more than I can even just sit here and just list off from memory. But yeah, there's a ton more that it'll do. But then when you get to the belief code level, now we're talking we've been talking software this whole time, is if you equate it to computers. So this is basically the software and we're working on that. Well, once you get to belief code, now you're in the hardware. Now we're dealing with the hardware of you. So, how I don't know, you get in there and you remove this, and remove that, and you make the system actually work better. I'm not a computer tech by any means, but
yeah, same.
But yeah, they describe that as the hardware. And when you get down to your beliefs, I mean, that's the basic underbelly of everything.
Right,
So,
exactly. How we believe about things, what we believe about things will inform how we feel about them. If we believe negatively towards something, we're going to have negative emotions around it as well. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. So these things are present in the body and in our energy field, I would imagine, right?
Well, they like the trapped emotions and such are, yeah.
Yeah. How do they get in there? How do we hold on to them?
Well, when we experience, let's say, a traumatic event, or it doesn't even have to be traumatic per se, but just when you're in the right space and you don't fully process an emotion. Emotions are supposed to be felt, processed, and move on. And when you don't process and move them on, here's this energy just hanging around as held in the body. Well, blocking other things, it's interfering with other things. This is an energetic vibration that you really don't want there. So you can just collect a whole bunch of them, and we just call that emotional baggage in the real world. So
yeah. Is it really possible to remove them from the body?
Yeah. It's interesting to watch other people. When I work on myself, I don't necessarily feel a trapped emotion move out of my body. I might feel the after effects, the symptoms, the processing symptoms, but some of the people I've worked with, they'll actually feel something move out of the body, or they'll feel that energy move. Or I had one person see colors every time I released an emotion. It was interesting. So
yeah,
depends on your sensitivity, but yeah, they can be moved.
What kind of problems do these things cause for us when we have trapped emotions, trapped beliefs?
Oh, anything can cause anything is Dr. Brad's big quote, and it's true. Anything can cause anything. He adjusted someone's toe and got rid of their migraine. I mean, how's that connected?
Crazy.
It was.
Meridians.
Yeah, meridians and who knows. But yeah, so trapped emotions can get in there, and the more we accumulate, we can have some emotional issues. We can start to have physical manifestations of, whatever. Anything can cause anything. So I know that things I've released from me have actually resulted in emotional shifts and physical shifts. So I saw it firsthand in the reverse. So, yeah.
This is the basis of what I do as well in Reiki and some other things that I do, because all these roads point to what emotional states we're holding in our body. I mean, Louise Hay, Dr. Michael J. Lincoln, Julia Cannon, all these resources talk about trapped emotion and what happens if we don't acknowledge them and move these emotions.
Exactly.
So many ways to address it and deal with it.
There are, because like you say, Reiki, I do the Reiki too, but you get into the sound therapies and the frequencies and EMDR and tapping and all that stuff. I mean, it's all a road to the same place. It's just which one resonates with you. And for me, this was easy.
Why was it easy?
I mean, there are ways where you can go in and let's go talk to your inner child and go back and hug yourself at age whatever. That's fine. I mean, some people really love that, but I'm one of those, let's get to the bottom of it right now. I want to get to the meat of the problem. So yeah, I want to sit down. I want to muscle test. I want to go right to the thing, and I want to decode what I have to decode, which means, investigate a little bit and then release it. Let's go. I'm on the healing path here. I don't want to sit around and take years more time to do it. So that's just me.
Yeah.
Maybe I
I
should work on impatience.
I wonder where you picked up that belief.
Uh, well, just listening to myself. Maybe I should work on the patience.
Where do we pick up beliefs anyway?
Oh gosh, everywhere. We are actually born with some belief systems that are
Huh.
inherited. So we're carrying around that inherited energy of a belief system. We got here with it. There are some that are you're self-generated. You get this impression, somebody says something to you, and you're like, oh, you come to the conclusion that this is this way or this is that way, and it just sticks. And especially when we're kids, like from 0 to 7, we're sponges. So we're walking around just absorbing things and not really questioning it. So that's an easy way when you're developing a belief yourself. But there are also suggested beliefs, which come from outside of yourself. So we could be sitting watching TV, and you and I were talking before about how you sit down, you watch TV, and it's about what, 30 seconds, maybe a minute, and you're already in this hypnotic brain state.
Yeah.
And then everything you hear, you're in a hypnotic brain state. It's not being questioned that much. So if
Yeah.
you're not paying attention, what are you, feeding your subconscious?
And they say that it takes 30 seconds of watching TV or a movie to get
Yeah.
into like this altered state of consciousness.
Yeah, the things like that outside of yourself, or you might be listening to the radio, or you might overhear Aunt Millie over there say
Yeah.
something about something, and you, as either a grown-up or a kid, either one, can just absorb that thought process without even thinking about it because it went past your critical thinking, past your conscious mind, and right into the subconscious. So yeah, belief systems can form in a whole lot of different ways.
Right. And we can watch someone getting positive attention or negative attention because of their beliefs, and then that can influence us one way or the other. Advertising, my goodness, advertising really does a job of manipulating us.
Oh yeah.
Big time.
Yeah. And if we're kids under 7 and we're just hypnotically sitting in front of the TV, what are we learning subconsciously? It's something to think about.
But not just advertising, but in our favorite stories and our sitcoms and social media, what people are espousing, and they look positive and shiny and happy. And gosh, that belief must be working great for them. Right.
Yeah. It's that whole, this looks this way, this appears this way, and therefore that must be true, or, therefore this must be true. Yeah, they can form in a number of ways.
Right.
I mean, and they're formed to protect us, basically.
Protect us. How so?
Yeah, I mean, we think, oh, this must be the way we stay safe, or this must be the way we get attention. Or, I mean, we form those beliefs initially. It's less the ones that go right past your critical mind or the ones you've inherited, you didn't form. But the ones that we do form, we're forming to protect ourselves, keep safe, keep loved, keep whatever.
Right. Yeah, I totally understand that. That is true. Now, you were talking about trees being a model for our belief. Can you tell about that? I don't want to take too much of your time, but I would like to ask you a few simple favors. First of all, please rate, review, and share this podcast wherever you're listening. It sounds like a simple little thing, and it is, but it has a huge impact for us because it helps other people find us in the podcasting algorithms. I don't know how it works, but I do know that it helps a lot. Next, if you would subscribe or follow wherever you're listening, whether that's YouTube or Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify, wherever you're listening, just hit subscribe or follow, and that helps you and it helps us. It helps you because then you receive notifications when we have a new episode that's out. It helps us because, again, algorithm magic, I don't know what happens, but it helps. And then finally, you can support our podcast in a tangible way by going to radiatewellnesscommunity.com/podcast and then click on support the show. Now, we have a new feature too. We are now on Patreon. You can find us on Patreon. You can also find the link to Patreon when you go to radiatewellnesscommunity.com/podcast. So on Patreon, for $3 a month or $5 a month, you can support your metaphysical and spiritual growth. You can learn about upcoming guests, and you can get early and ad-free versions of the shows. So please support us. This podcast is free for you to listen, but we have costs, and quite frankly, they come out of my pocket. So if you like this content, if you get a lot out of it, please see what you can do to give back. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that is something that apparently the team at Discover Healing came up with. That's Dr. Brad's company. And they modeled it after a tree. So when we're looking for a belief system, we're basically looking for a tree, not a branch, not a root, the whole tree. So the top of the tree, they call the negative programs. And that's the first layer of stuff that when you hear it, it may sound like your negative self-talk. It may sound very familiar to you. And then you get down to the trunk of the tree, and those are more limiting beliefs. And they may still sound familiar, but they may not. And then when we get down to the faulty core beliefs, those are the roots of the tree, and those are deeper in your subconscious. So they may sound like, well, I don't think that, or what the heck is that about? But it's in there. And then we get down to the soil that that tree grew out of, and that's your faulty core identity. And so, and there's different sorts of belief, structures or belief trees, as we call them. And yeah, we have to find all the beliefs in that belief tree and everything beneath that. There's associated imbalances underneath that, that sometimes we have to get rid of everything. It's like when you go in and you take down a tree, they describe this as the person will come along, the tree trimmers, and they'll take down the top and they'll work their way down to the trunk, and then they'll work there, and pretty soon they have a pile on the ground, and they've got to clean that mess entirely up, and including the roots in the ground. Because you cut off a branch of a tree, it could regrow. It probably will. But if you clean up the entire tree, roots and all, straighten everything out like it wasn't even there, that's when you've released an entire belief system. So they just model it after that.
Yeah. Wow. This makes me think of, I used to teach a model in my composition classes at the university, that when we write a paper, we want to take the idea, which is like a fountain. We take the idea out of the fountain, which is the main idea. And then each spray of the fountain, each jet of the fountain is part of that idea that formulates and then goes back into the main idea. But this sounds like the tree too, because the roots, carry up the nutrients up to the leaves, which fall down and decompose and then feed the roots and nourish it all. So that makes a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We're going to cut off those beliefs where they grow.
Yeah. And it's amazing to me that we come in with an inherited set sometimes. It's like, I didn't even form these myself. What the heck?
Well, they say that we come in with 7 generations full of DNA in our body, 7 layers of our generations in our body. So that makes sense, especially when you're thinking of DNA being formed by our thoughts and emotions, which I found in QHHT. Subconscious says this all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And we come in with trapped emotions from generations back. Sometimes I found the energies of I'm trying to think, toxins or the energies of something that's in the body code, not just a trapped emotion. It came from generations back. And it's like, why are we carrying this around?
Wow.
It's no wonder we're sicker all the time. I mean, we're accumulating baggage. We came in with some baggage, and then every generation comes in with more baggage because they're taking some from the one before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've got to unpack this stuff.
Well, you do have to unpack this stuff. And, it makes sense that any of our emotional states, any of our beliefs, any of our hardwired thought patterns and processes would come from our family of origin, of course, because that's where we learn everything. It's from the adults who raise us.
Yeah.
Right. We learn about how to think about things, how to look at things, what to value, what to disvalue. All of that. And so then where did these people learn it? From their parents? And where did they learn it? From their parents?
Yeah. And they're all carrying forth those things as vibrational energies. So when we jump over, I don't know if you're familiar with Bruce Lipton and epigenetics, but it's the environment that blueprint of your DNA is put in, and you're carrying around that same energetic vibration. So it's being exposed to that same energetic vibration until you change it. So is it any wonder we develop similar things to our ancestors?
True. Yeah, until we deal with it. And I like your process for dealing with it. We've got to feel it, we've got to experience it, we've got to express it, and then we can move it. We can move it out.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the beauty of it. We may come in with a bunch of baggage that's not ours, but we can get rid of it.
So how does this work to get rid of beliefs in the belief code?
Well, after we identify all the beliefs in a belief system, and then we identify all the associated imbalances that might be beneath that belief system, which could come from the emotion code or the body code. It could be a trapped emotion. It could be a toxin. It could be anything kind of anchoring that tree really down. and we release those things. Then we go back and we release those beliefs. And we're doing that in the trapped or in the emotion code, how we do the over the governing meridian,
Oh, yeah.
either a
Explain
magnet
that
or
again.
your hand.
If somebody doesn't know what that is.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the same, basically releasing beliefs, releasing anything in the body code, and releasing trapped emotions is all done the same way. And that is basically we go over the governing meridian with either a magnet or our hand, because our bodies are energetic. What is the word? Electromagnetic. We are the electromagnetic beings. So we have enough magnetism in our hand to do this too. But we just go over this from about here between your eyes back to the back of your neck. Unless you're doing it on someone else, then you can go back down their back. But we just do that however many times we need to. And in the case of inherited, that would be like 10 times. In the case of something that you had experienced yourself or a belief you generated yourself, that would only be like 3 times or 3 swipes, as we call it. But it's that easy. And it's intention. It's all intention and that.
And what does the swiping do?
Basically, you're breaking up the energy of, in a sense. Tapping is the same way where, it's on those meridian lines. That's the governing meridian. So tapping operates on meridians, acupuncture, acupressure, reflexology, and I don't know what else. But that meridian system, we're breaking that energy up in a sense. But it's a big deal if you didn't intend to release it. Your intention is everything.
Intention truly is everything.
Mm-hmm.
Everything.
Yes.
Wow, wonderful. And this operates the same way that the emotion code and the body code works.
Yeah, that was the thing, is when Dr. Brad bought this from the ladies who basically honed it into T3. T3 was more of an intuitive type based thing where you're asking yourself questions and really kind of leaving it to your intuition to come up with the answer. And I can't really speak to T3 too much more than that because I have not had it done. I didn't take that class. I've watched a video on YouTube about it. And then when they tweaked that a little bit, there's like over 1,000 beliefs in the belief code part of the app. But instead of having to like sit there and try to get your intuition to tell you, because some people, I don't want to sit around and wait for my intuition to tell me. I'm going to muscle test this. Let's get to it. So they tweaked it in that way so that it fit the model for the same thing as the emotion code and the body code, which I like. So I'm good with that. But some people prefer to take the scenic route and do it the other way. So however you like it.
Right. Which is beautiful. Really, the system of emotion code, body code, belief code really does work pretty seamlessly.
Yeah. That's the really nice part of it, is they've come up with an app that we practitioners use, and anybody can get the body code app. It's a paid app though. But the belief code level of that app is only available to practitioners or those who are in the class. At least that's the way it is at the moment. So yeah, but we can seamlessly switch right from one to the other. So if I'm like in the belief code, found a system, now I want an associated imbalance beneath it, and that associated imbalance happens to be in the emotion code, I just click over here to the emotion code chart. It's in the body code, click over here to the body code stuff and just go. So it works very nicely together.
Yeah, it's seamless and comprehensive.
Mm-hmm.
Now, how do you find the emotions and the beliefs that are in the body?
That is the muscle testing. And that is basically kinesiologists, the study of movement. They're testing muscles, which that's how we move, but they're testing the strength of muscles in response to it's basically your subconscious. If you've ever taken like a lie detector test, or try to think here, that you've seen these people read body language, there's that subtle response, that immediate subtle response before you catch yourself, especially if you're trying to override something. Your subconscious is basically tattling on you, like right there. But yeah, in muscle testing, it's kind of the same thing, but you're not trying to hide it. You're just testing. But it's a similar response that we're testing. So you've seen the people that are standing with their arms out and someone's pushing on their arm.
Yeah.
That's a muscle test. And they're saying, okay, you only have yes or no questions in muscle testing, basically.
Right.
So let's say you want to know if like this vitamin is good for your body and this vitamin is more efficient for your body or what have you. You can muscle test that. Your body knows. Your subconscious knows what your body needs. Your subconscious knows all the trapped emotions that are trapped in you, where they came from, how you got them, everything. So we have tapped into that with muscle testing, and we just ask. And it depends on what focus you pick. Like, let's say, for instance, I sat down early on. I was not certified in anything at this point. And I sat down and I said, okay, what can I work on associated with my nearsightedness, which was at the time was still operating with a diagnosis instead of the symptoms, which note to self, stick with the symptoms. But anyway, I sat down and I pulled up each trapped emotion that had to do with that. And I asked to get them from the most important to least. And I watched as this page started to clear up and get crisper. Every little emotion I released, it was amazing. But all I did was muscle test to find those, muscle test whether they were inherited, whether they were experienced or absorbed or what have you. And any details I needed to know, it was a yes or no question. Inherited from who? Mother's side, father's side. There's a way to narrow things down a little. We all get used to what we're supposed to ask and how we're supposed to narrow it down. But yeah, it's just a little process. And all of it is muscle testing.
Wow, muscle testing. And then you clear it with the meridians.
Mm-hmm.
How do
Yeah.
people typically feel after having these emotions and beliefs cleared?
Depends on the person. I mean, a lot of people will say they feel lighter, which really literally makes some sense because you just released a denser energy that their body didn't really need to be carrying around. So
Right.
lighter makes some sense. But
Right.
sometimes we'll feel thirsty or you'll feel tired. Or have you ever heard of these people who have energy movement and they'll have a little burping going on or their stomach will start growling or whatever? But I mean, those are just mild things that can happen. But if you're really dealing with some heavy trauma and you release a bunch of stuff that has real deep roots in some, you could have dreams, you could have memories pop up, you could have an emotional moment. This may go on for a day or two, but after day 2, maybe 3, those processing symptoms should go away. They should be all done. So any range of things can happen like that, but usually it's pretty mild, but it depends on the person. That's not always true.
I know I've had several of these sessions that you have given to me. It's amazing what is there and what thing relates to another thing. Oh, we have to clear this before we can clear that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not simple.
Well, it's not simple, but it is simple. It's not rocket science, but it's not. You need to start from the bottom and actually get familiar with the emotion code first, and then move to body code, and then move to belief code in order to really fully grasp it, I think. But yeah, it's not super hard, but it is different. And then I don't know if you experienced any processing symptoms, but I was did you experience them?
Oh, yes, yes. Feeling tired, feeling kind of lethargic, feeling lighter, but yeah, lethargic, kind of tired. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
Mhm.
I recently had a conversation with another practitioner that body code, emotion code, but we were talking about belief code. And so I did a session for her. And she had mentioned that in past sessions with her clients, when she got to an inherited thing, sometimes her clients would have their children would be reactive or have an emotional day or whatever after the fact, which I had never experienced up until that discussion anyway. And then I did a session for her with the belief code, and there were a couple inherited things in there. And then later that day, because we did this in the morning, later that day, she says, well, one of my daughters was having a meltdown about something, and she attributed it to something that happened with her friend. And then later, her other kid starts having a meltdown at school, and she's like, what is happening? Why are both my kids having this freak out today? And then it hit her. Oh, wait, that session on me earlier had some inherited stuff in it. And she comes back and tells me this, and I'm like, wow, I've never seen that before. She had, and then we talk about it and it happens.
Because
So,
it's all inherited, right? That's what
mm-hmm,
we're talking about, right? It's
mm-hmm.
the epigenetic part of it and portion of it, right?
Yeah. Well,
That
and I guess I should preface that by saying when we release an inherited anything, it releases back from where it came from and anyone that it was passed down to. So that's where that's happening, is that was passed down to her kids. And so she had a release from her, and therefore they benefited / were affected.
Wow.
So yeah, that can happen. But yeah, I kind of wonder sometimes. I've released a whole bunch of like inherited stuff on myself because I work on myself all the time. And yeah, I wonder how many times have my family unknowingly, because none of them live around here except for like a few. How many times have they had some kind of emotional day or something happen and they're having a meltdown and they have no idea why? Here I am in Kansas City. Oh, I'm releasing something. I'm affecting all my cousins or something. I have no idea.
Right. Because it is all connected like that.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you said that you can also work on animals. How does
Yeah.
that work?
Well, animals, and I had someone ask me this recently, and this would be a good one for you to kick in on too. How do you test animals with muscle testing, which that's exactly what we do. But, they're like, well, how do you do that? Because animals don't speak English. Animals don't, and I'm like, no, 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 no. We're talking to their subconscious. And don't ask me how, but their subconscious is connected. And you do animal communication. I mean, it doesn't matter if they speak English or not, they can still communicate with you, right?
Oh, absolutely. Right. I mean, and I go with just how the block of energy feels and how it goes.
And I've heard people talk about images and different things. But yeah, in muscle testing, it's all I'm asking a question, I'm getting a yes or no response. And it's very easy. But I mean, it obviously works. I mean, I was doing some work for someone in Australia recently that I volunteered for to help this cat. And it turned out she has two cats. Well, I didn't know that when I started. And I'm working my way through, and this thing about food comes up in the body code part. And I'm like, food. I'm like, I have no idea what this cat eats, right? So, I noted that and sent the notes. And this person was talking to me on the phone there with an app. And I said, it would be really interesting to see what your label on your food is. And so she sent me a picture of labels on all the food the cat ate. And I'm like, oh, wow. So I muscle tested each one and I found the ingredient that was bothering the cat.
Oh my, yeah, I remember
So,
you told me the story.
yeah. And then she says, oh, well, here's the other cat, which I didn't even know about, and oh, she's been having similar issues. And I'm like, whoa, 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 wait. Let's just go back here and do some work for your other cats too. So I did. And again, the food thing came up. And I'm like, I have no idea if this cat eats the same food or not. I'm not a psychic over here. So I sent that to her. I said, okay, this also came up with the food. Does this cat eat the same food or not? Because I was unaware that, the first cat had a specific issue. I wasn't sure if the second cat was eating the same food because it was a special food for that issue for the first cat. So, yeah, lo and behold, that cat's eating the same food and it was the same ingredient that was bothering her. And I'm like, huh, that is pretty darn amazing that I'm testing a cat's subconscious and I'm getting that much information.
Yeah.
And I don't know any of this. It's coming from them.
It makes me wonder. Well, I mean, I have my own theories and things that I've read and studied about cat souls, basically, that comes from this oversoul. And so it makes me wonder what you're picking up in terms of a cat subconscious.
Yeah, I have a theory about that whole thing with the subconscious. That's what we're taught in class. We're connecting with the subconscious. That's the
Right.
word they like to use. And that's true. I'm sure we are. But I think there's something beyond that that we're also tapping into. And whether that's the subconscious being connected to more or we're tapping into something more, take it either way. But there's something that is beyond because they're just things that come up like that a cat's subconscious, why would he know the ingredient to the food? Why would he know any of that? But there again, when I was learning to muscle test, I had moved to an area around Charleston, did not know my way around Charleston. Went downtown one day, drove around, got completely lost, just checking the place out. And I thought, wonder how I get back home. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to muscle test my way home instead of getting out the GPS. And I said, okay, at each corner, do I turn left? Do I turn right? I did not take one wrong turn and I got home.
Oh my God.
Now, why would my subconscious know the map to that city? I think we're tapping into something a little bit higher.
We're tapping into a bigger consciousness than
I think, or else we are subconsciously connected to more something. Something's going on there.
right. And so the same is true of animals then.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so
Yeah.
we need to find, well, what kind of beliefs would an animal have anyway?
That's an interesting question. An animal can form a belief. I did find a belief recently that an animal was like, I am bad, or I'm a bad whatever cat or dog. And I thought, well, where'd that come from? And they had picked that idea up. They generated the belief themselves, which is interesting, but they had picked that idea up because they were apparently told they were bad or something. I'm like, oh, but most of the time when an animal has a belief, it sounds like a human belief. And upon further testing, I'll find out that maybe they kind of picked up on something from their owner or someone along the lines, or they inherit things. And who knows back how many generations that cat's or dog's ancestors
Right.
who they were around, what they picked up or absorbed. It's amazing. It's mind-blowing, but it really does kind of seem odd when a cat has a belief that's like, wow, that really sounds like a human thought. Why would a cat think this?
I was going to ask, how do animal beliefs differ from humans' beliefs?
Well, we use the same exact app. So I did come across something that I think that one with I'm a bad cat or dog was actually I'm a bad person. And I, through muscle testing, was like, okay, did you pick this up from a human somewhere? No. And it was like, okay, is this really a different, do I need to change a word here? Yes. Okay. So I'm a bad cat or I'm a bad dog rather than a person. So you just really have to poke around with the muscle testing a little bit, but it's just fascinating.
Now, how did you get into all of this and why?
How did I get into all this? Well, I was trying to help myself. I mean, isn't that how we all start?
Right.
But yeah, I was a big law of attraction fan. And of course, we've all seen that picture of the iceberg where the tip of the iceberg's out of the water. And that's 5 or 10%, depending on what chart you look at. That's the conscious mind. And then you've got the subconscious underwater, which is like 90 to 95%. And I, somewhere along the line, picked up the idea because I was like, this law of attraction sounds great, but I'm working really hard at changing how I think and all that. And it's not really going anywhere. And then I learned, oh, the subconscious beliefs are also sending out vibrational energies that therefore are attracted back to you. Same attracts same, like attracts like. And I thought, what? Like 95% of things going out from here is what's happening. No, 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 no. That's not okay. So I was looking for a way to kind of address that 95%. What's down there? What's going on that I don't want going on? And at first I started looking for shadow work and things. And then this just magically appeared in front of me one day and the rest is history. But I have cleaned up a lot of different things about me, trapped emotions and things. And then when the belief code came out, I was hot and heavy on that with myself. But law of attraction stuff, as far as like what I'm putting out now, it must be better because it has gotten much easier to make things flow.
Always been a master manifester.
Well, we all are in a way. It's just whether we're manifesting things we want or we don't want. Because we're all masters in gravity too.
Good
You
point.
know? Yeah.
You've always managed to manifest exactly what you're thinking of, manage what you're wanting to achieve, and moving toward what you want in your life. So you've
Yeah.
good at that.
Well, since you've known me.
Since I've known
But
fair. That is
But
fair.
you've known me after I discovered this modality. So yeah, this has helped me a lot in that department.
How did you discover it?
I was watching Gaia during COVID because there wasn't anything really going on. And I watched an episode of Open Minds and Dr. Nelson was on there being interviewed. And I recognized it was about the emotion code at the time. And I'm like, I recognized immediately because of my past massage and energy exposure. I recognized the gold I was looking at and I'm like, ooh, that's exactly what I need. And I stopped the program right in the middle, turned around and ordered the ebook. And then I finished the interview. And then I started reading the book. And then it took me about a week to read the book. And then I started using it. And it was just amazing.
Yeah. And then in true Tracey McQuinn fashion, you found out about it and you went for it. You got the certification. Yeah. You did the thing. You studied it. You took a deep dive in it.
Yeah, I've not been the master of finishing anything because I am that neurodivergent person. But when I'm on it, right? So yeah, I was trying to help myself and I dove in head first and it helped so much. I thought, oh my gosh, I have to get certified in this because I have to be able to share this with people because it's awesome. So I did.
That's amazing. Yeah. You currently are offering these modalities. Well, you are offering these modalities through radiatewellnesscommunity.com.
Mm-hmm.
So, and we start off with a consultation call with you first. Why do we do a consultation call?
People have questions, don't know where to start. I mean, it depends on what you're working on because if you just come in and you just want to start unloading some emotional baggage, we can ask, what is the thing we need to focus on for your highest good right now? And take off a few layers, a few sessions. You can only do so much at a time, and then your body needs to stop and process. So that's one route. But if you're coming in with like a chronic pain or a chronic something that's what you really want to zero in on, we go about asking that a different way. Maybe we need to start with the belief code, body code instead, not just the emotion code. So yeah, if somebody's not really sure what to book or what direction to go, yeah, do a call. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. I mean, there are many roads that we can take to healing. So many different ones. People
Oh,
ask
yeah.
me that all the time. It's like, which service should I do? As well, depends on what you have going on, what you're comfortable investing in terms of time and treasure, in terms of what you're comfortable releasing. So it
Yeah.
depends.
And different people resonate with different things. I mean, maybe there's a person that really just needs that extra TLC. I mean, maybe they're going to benefit more from Reiki or something where they can sit and talk to their inner child and go hug them at age whatever. You never know.
Well, and you do have so many tools in your toolbox. So if somebody gets into it and they need something else, you've got tools to help them out. It's like you don't
Yeah.
have to leave somebody there. You don't have to leave somebody stuck.
No, no. And I mean, it's not the end all of everything. I mean, if the body code has a section of outside need, and sure, if it says Reiki, we got that covered. But if it says like acupuncture, I don't do acupuncture. I'm going to have to send you to someone who does.
Right.
So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I try, but I'm not everything.
I know you do a lot of things, but you got to draw the line somewhere.
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay, you can do your sessions on the phone, on Zoom, or in person in Blue Springs, Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
It's just as effective no matter what way you choose to practice it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is. They say everyone has a blind spot if they're doing it themselves, and that's probably true. We've got egos that get in the way.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trading belief code sessions with someone in another country who I've never met, never seen, only seen a picture online. And she's muscle testing by proxy for me wherever, I don't even know where in the world she is. I don't have a globe in front of me, but yeah. And I muscle test for her sessions by proxy. And we send each other the information. And it's amazing how she'll be like, oh, that makes total sense. And this happened at this age. And same thing for me. I'll be like, oh, wow, you're pulling up the same ages that I was about something else.
Mm.
Yeah. So it's obvious that it still works.
Right. It doesn't matter the distance at all because the energy is all connected. It's all one.
Yeah, it's all connected. And speaking of connections,
Yes.
the whole belief code, you think about a tree as a belief system. And
Yes.
then I'm sitting in front of all these trees because it's a forest. It's funny how some belief systems tie to other belief systems, and it's like an interwoven web. And I'm
Mm.
finding this shouldn't be shocking, but it's fascinating to me that I'm finding that beneath things like financial abundance or relationship issues or even physical pain, I'm finding this common theme of self-worth underneath all of it. It's very fascinating.
What do you think is going on there?
Well, I could see in abundance, it's pretty easy. Like, oh, you don't feel worthy of the abundance or worthy of success. Or it's same thing in relationship. I don't feel worthy of love or worthy of this person or what have you. But yeah, it's amazing to see this interwoven common theme that is under just about everything that you're working on.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you see that in QHHT too, because people are always like, oh, they need to recognize that they're worthy and love themselves. Yeah.
It all comes down to self-love. And what is that but recognizing your worth?
Mm-hmm. And it's so beneath so many issues we have, and we don't even realize it.
Exactly. But it sounds like you can cut through a lot of that with the
Through a little,
practices that you do.
yeah, through a little red tape and get to it. Yeah. It amazes me though that it's so common with everything I work on.
Just that self-love, self-worth.
Yeah. It's beneath everything.
I would have to say that is true. It comes up
Mhm.
in QHHT sessions all the time. So then we get our beliefs about our worth from our parents, from teachers, from older
Mhm.
family members.
Well, and we inherit beliefs that ancestors didn't feel worthy for whatever reason, or they didn't. And then here we are walking around with that, and we're sending out that vibration. So therefore, we're experiencing more of that same thing and proving it to ourselves over and over and over. Law of attraction principle. So we just believe it and we build our own beliefs around it because we continue to see the same results.
And this is a very good point that we do not have to be beholden to our beliefs. We can change our beliefs,
Mm-hmm.
right? We
Yeah.
can choose a different belief.
Yeah. There are actually replacement statements that are part of the body code app or the belief code app.
Mm-hmm.
And when we release a bunch of like a belief system, that's one of the questions we want to ask when we're going through that is there a replacement statement needed or a replacement
Mm-hmm.
belief needed? And then it's almost like a positive affirmation. And instead of releasing, we're installing it. So I will muscle test and have you say it. And of course, usually it'll test weak. And then I'll do the same thing I do when I'm releasing, is I'm installing this belief and I'm having you say it. And then I'm testing it again. And yeah, usually test strong. So it's
You know,
interesting how we can put things back in there.
isn't that interesting? And just and we all work with affirmations from time to time, right? Affirmations are important, but sometimes those affirmations do not feel real.
Yeah, that's one of the things too, as I was just saying recently, is if we don't take the garbage out, or we bring in new stuff, new affirmations, new pretty thoughts, they're not going to be anything but pretty thoughts in the middle of a pile of garbage.
Yeah.
We have to get that stuff out. We have to start dealing with the incongruent belief systems and get those out of the way. And then your affirmations have a better chance of actually working.
Taking hold,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
yeah, you're not fighting against something, or at least not as much.
I do believe that belief is important and belief is required to do these things. We can tell ourselves affirmations all day long, but until we actually believe that affirmation and take it in as a new belief, it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
So I
And
love that.
it really amazes me that we can just install a belief, though. That's a mind blower.
Well, and that just means that it's so much easier to adopt a belief without even trying or really knowing about it.
Yeah, it's true.
Like consciously, I think it's difficult to change a belief because these beliefs are deep rooted, but we can also take on beliefs from the most unlikely of sources or the most seemingly benign of sources. So that is easy to do. But I feel like that once it's in there, I think it is a bit harder. So I'm glad that there are processes like installing a new belief, emptying out the garbage before we try to install a new belief, even addressing our beliefs, because how many of us are just on autopilot?
Well, yeah, and sometimes we don't even see what's in front of our face until someone points it out.
Right.
Because we just are so used to it, Yeah.
It is just how we see the world.
And that's maybe we grew up that way.
Well,
we never questioned anything.
and our parents grew up that way, and their parents grew up that way, and their parents grew up that way. Right. I look at the current political climate and things like misogyny and racism and division.
And how many of those things are based on beliefs? Probably all of them.
All of them, I would say. All of them.
Yeah, all of them. Because,
right.
Well, if you watch babies, for instance, let's take two different races of babies. They don't know the difference yet. They'll play, they'll have fun, they're fine with each other. It's only after they learn those beliefs and learn that stuff that they start behaving differently.
Exactly.
No, that doesn't need to be.
It doesn't need to be. What are we teaching our children? Absolutely. So I'm wondering if this can be done on a mass scale.
Oh, good question. That is a very good question. I have not applied this that way yet, but I did come up with something that just, how you get the best ideas when you're doing something mundane.
Right. Taking a shower.
So getting my vitamins together one morning, and out of nowhere. Now, there's a method in the body code that is something we learned in the practitioner's education stuff about the anchor point. And the anchor point is, okay, normally we have an issue and we've got to come, here's where you are now. Here's where the issue started. And we've got to work layer by layer by layer by layer back to the core and to get rid of that issue. Now, in the anchor point system, we've got the issue started here, and we ask, is this, something that has an anchor point to begin with? If you get yes, you can jump back to where did it start? What age? And then work around the issues here where it started to do with that anchor point. And sometimes that will unravel all the things moving forward, or a good chunk of the things moving forward. Right. And that means less work, less layer by layer by layer by layer. So just to explain that a bit, I'm getting my vitamins together one morning, and all of a sudden it hits me. What if we could apply, and I know this wasn't my own thought, what if we could apply the anchor point system to the belief code? And I was like, ooh, what an interesting idea. So I immediately went and wrote that down and thought, I'll get back to that later. And so I started experimenting with myself because, I'm the guinea pig.
Of course you do.
And I get in there and I start muscle testing myself. Okay, first of all, I muscle tested which topic is best to start playing with. And I can't even remember what it was. But I ask, is there an anchor belief system that is beneath this particular topic? Yes, that's what I got. So I'm like, okay. So I sat and I went through everything to get my belief system tree together and all the things underneath it. And then I released it. And then I muscle tested, okay, did that unravel other belief system trees as well? And I got yes. And I'm like, oh, ooh, did it completely unravel them? I wanted to make sure unravel meant like cleaning it up, smoothing that ground, the tree is gone. So I said, is that what you mean by unravel? Yes. Okay. Not leaving partial things behind. No. So I'm like, oh, I think I figured out a new way to apply that technique. So I'm always playing with stuff. But as far as like the consciousness level, I have not applied it to that. I've heard people try to work on the collective human consciousness. I don't know how you would even gauge that. You probably could do that, and you probably are making a dent. But there's nobody that's going to walk up to you and go, oh, you really cleared something the other day when you were working on the human consciousness. I mean, how would they know? Oh, I really felt better. There's no gauge to that, but I think you could apply it that way.
Yes, I'm wondering, kind of like Lynn McTaggart's experiments with, the intention experiment, right? All these people praying and meditating together to affect
Yeah.
certain outcomes, right? So that would be interesting. If we could heal what's going on in the country right now and in the world, that would be really fascinating.
Yeah. After recent events, because, there's a lot of excitement happening in the world, I was a little bit, I don't know. I just thought, is this really where we're at right now? I mean, I realize things are all coming to the surface for a reason, but is this really where we're at? And I took my AO scanner, which is a whole different topic, but I can send out frequencies. Basically, I can send out frequencies in playlists, actually. So I made up a playlist and I aimed it at my topic to aim at, not me. I changed it to the human collective consciousness, and I've been sending it out since then.
Good for you.
But,
So do you think you have created these shifts that we're seeing?
I don't have any idea. I don't know. I just wanted to do something because I thought, oh my gosh, this can't be where we are.
Right. You
Just
can't be where we are.
I don't want us to be where we are, but here we are.
Here we are.
So yeah, but I don't know. Hopefully it helps. We'll see.
We'll see. Now, is there anything else we haven't talked about the belief code, the body code, or the emotion code that you think is important to mention?
Well, with the belief code in particular, now when I do an emotion code session on you, generally the results, I mean, they can be instantaneous. The whole thing with my eyes was instantaneous. And I should preface that I didn't finish the job. You see, I'm still wearing glasses. I had to go get new glasses. But my ones I had at the beginning when I sat down got too strong, really like that. But belief code, some people have results where they can notice it right away. And some people are reporting that they're not noticing things for like 2 and 3 weeks. But these are like behavioral shifts or how they think about things kind of shifts. It's not like all of a sudden my eyes were better. It could happen, but there may be a slower shift. I mean, we are in the hardware of you after all. So I don't know. It varies.
Very interesting. Well, if somebody wants to schedule an appointment with you, they can, of course, go to radiatewellnesscommunity.com, schedule a consultation. That's the first step. And then you can tell them like maybe some ideas about how to work together moving forward. And then they can schedule from there. And I know we're working on some new packages and some things for your offerings to put that together. So
that's another issue right there is that my analogy is that we don't go and work out one day and think, oh, okay, that should be good.
Right. I'm strong, I'm fit, I'm healthy, right?
Yeah. And it's the same way when we're working with emotion code, body code, belief code. One session is one layer. I mean, how many layers of stuff are we walking around with? So you want to do a few sessions and really get some work done, get some things out of the way, because that's going to get you the best results. So just a one and done is not really, I mean, it could have great results, but the deeper progress is going to be when you do a few sessions. So yeah, that's what's behind the package idea.
That is so true, right? It's not one and done, right? Going out and we're encountering our stressors, we're encountering difficult people, we're encountering our lives, and we need to keep up on this stuff in order to really clear it.
Yeah. I mean, I've had plenty of great one session results with people, but is one issue all you have? Probably not.
Right. Right. Excellent advice. And so go to radiatewellnesscommunity.com to schedule that. And if I could just add one more thing in general about this podcast, that it is up for a Women in Podcasting Award. So everybody please I'll put a link in the show notes to go vote for this show, plus the Real Life Angel Encounters and me, Christi Clemons Hoffman, as best guest expert. And that link will be in the show notes. Voting is open through October 1st. So go and vote for Women in Podcasting. Thank you so much, Tracey, for joining me today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Don't know what to watch next? Decisions. Well, we've got some suggestions. You can click this little video here and watch that. It's something that we think you're going to like. If you like the last one, you're going to like that one too. You can also click on the subscribe button. And if you do that, then you'll get notifications whenever we have a new video up. Win-win, right?